Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Shisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Study shows dating opportunities for men are decreasing as more healthy relationship standards arise. This study was taking the internet by storm. People are probably still talking about it. We're talking about it everywhere. First saw this post on the Shade Room and women were going crazy. They were celebrating, especially the feminists, right? They were saying women aren't settling for less and men have to get it together. That's what the article was basically saying, right? And it was saying that men are the most loneliest they've ever been because women refuse to settle. Now, there was a lot that was said in that article and study, and I'm just gonna touch up on a little bit of that. But I'll be honest, this particular post was a little bit triggering. Why? Because I knew it was bullshit. I did not want to drink this coffee.
This coffee smells like shit.
Everything about this post, the responses from the women being like, yeah, men need to get it together. I was like, oh my gosh. Everything about it just seemed very agenda driven. So the caption of the post that was shared by the Shade Room actually read, men are reportedly at their loneliest romantically as potential partners are not settling for the same dating standards from the 1990s. The article goes on to read, apparently men today outnumber women on dating sites and have become the largest growing group of long-term single people in the last 30 years. According to a psychologist backed by research shared in Psychology Today, and we're going to look into that psychologist here in a little bit. One study shared by the outlet from 2019 suggests that men ages 25 to 54 are the fastest growing group of long-term single people since 1990. It will only worsen in the future, while they represent approximately 62% of dating app users, outnumbering women. Another study conducted in 2021 with over 40,000 people showed that men reported more loneliness than women. Board-certified couple and family psychologist Greg Meadows. It's funny how like that board-certified there just, I don't know, it's like when you're aware, when you're RP aware, you read that and you're like, oh shit, yeah, it must be bullshit if he's certified by a well-known board, right? So this guy said, research shows it will be more challenging for men to find their matches over time. There are several factors Dr. Meadows suggests men need to address to change their fate. Now we're gonna look at a few of those factors, but first the question is, who is this guy? That's the question, because something here just doesn't seem right. So he's a psychologist, we know that. So here's some information on who this guy really is. Greg Meadows is a psychologist and author working on his second book, How to Not Suck the Air Out of the Room, a man's guide to fighting patriarchy. You can find him calling out misogyny on Twitter and YouTube. Are we surprised? No, we're not. So understanding this guy gives us more insight to why he comes to the conclusions that he does. When he looks at what's going on in the dating market, that's the conclusion he comes to. And of course, he's a feminist. He's a male feminist. So let's look at what Greg says men have to do to improve their situations. So the article from the Shade Room reads, there are several factors Dr. Meadows suggested men needed to address to change their fate. Oh no. Aside from addressing financial imbalances, surprise, man, it's the first thing that comes up, between men and women looking for partnership. Well, we've got a lot of problems about this. There's a lot of problems here, right? Financial imbalances, we all know. You know what these women are looking for, right? And then the problem here is that they're looking for a partnership. The article goes on to read, one factor affecting men in the study was economic. The study suggests that relationship gaps among men widened because single men were faring worse off financially than in 1990s. So the problem here are finances. However, relationship gaps have gotten wider among women because partnered women were faring substantially better off financially than in 1990. Okay, so obviously we could have all predicted this, right? The financial problem. Women don't want to date men who make less money than them. That points to female nature. But at the same time, these women want those men who are higher achievers to seek partnerships with them, and also want to complain about wage gaps, right, amongst men and women. And the problem is Ladies, you can't have it both ways. You can't have both. You can't be making more money, becoming the men who you're looking for, and complain that now that you're making more money, you're now at the same level with most men. I've done a bunch of videos that talk about how most women want a man who earns at least 30 to 58% more than they do. And these are studies that I looked at in the past. So we know that's facts. So the article goes on to read, other factors include women having different relationship standards today. Different standards like wanting partnerships with the men who they want to earn more money than them, right? If you ask a woman her ideal type of man. Meadows says women prefer men who are emotionally available, good communicators, and share similar values. Also, dating apps are a massive driver of romantic connections. But men outnumber women significantly, representing 62% of users, lowering their chances of getting matches. So first, we got to call bullshit on the obvious. Good communicators? Come on, man. We know we know at this point, we know we can't trust what women say. We just can't. What women tell you they want in most cases does not line up with the men who they let bust those cheeks. That's facts. Emotionally available. That's not what women want either. If you want to know what women truly want, look at what they complain about. Look at the type of men that they give sexual access to. Women complain about men being emotionally unavailable. Okay, what should that tell you? These are the men who women are dealing with. So don't be too emotionally available. Women complain about men not being good communicators. Most guys blab at the mouth. Most guys talk too much. So what does that tell you? Be the guy who she complains about, because those are the guys who are busting the cheeks. But here's the big question in all this. Here's the number one question in all this. If 62% based on this article are reportedly at their loneliest romantically ever, the majority of men, then wouldn't you think that there will be an equal, or at least near to equal number of women, so that this article wouldn't be so significant and women aren't shouting it out from the rooftops? Then who are these women entertaining? Maybe they're just focused on their careers, right? They're celibate, reading their Bible. Where are these women at? Someone's busting those cheeks. That's all I'm gonna say. Somebody is getting it in, bro. What's happening here is everything we know in this space is that 20% of men are getting access to the majority of women. Getting access, as in women are allowing those men, seeking those men to deal with them either romantically, mostly sexually. These aren't men who are being selfish and want all the women to themselves. No, women are proving, as they've proved in the past, female nature, that they would rather share a high-value male than deal with the man who she views as beta. And don't forget, we're talking about dating here, right? These are short-term mating strategies for women. They would rather deal with that alpha man who she views as alpha. Remember, it's all about her. Alpha is relative. And for those of you who don't like the word alpha, switch it with whatever. The most desirable man in her eyes. Majority of women are messing with that 20% man. And trust me, women have no problem getting laid. There are no videos teaching women how to get laid. They're happily letting those guys bust those cheeks. There's no more shame. There's no more stigma. Women aren't shamed for being single mothers. Women aren't shamed for being 304s. That's what we're seeing right now. The access through men, through social media and apps like Tinder. There was a video I did a while back that talked about how the number of sexless men has tripled, and it tripled around the time when Tinder was introduced into the dating market. And this article refers to 1990s, where there was no Instagram in the 1990s. There was no Tinder in the 1990s. This is not about being emotionally available, being a good communicator. It has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with women having complete freedom to do whatever they want in the dating market. Date, pursue men, have kids outside of wedlock without judgment, and at the end, who gets blamed? The men, right? Because let's not get it twisted here. The gender that suffers the most in the end are the women. Because when that biological clock starts to reach that point to when the woman wants to settle down, well, that's when she has to pay for the consequences of being out here in these streets. So there's a lot of holes in that whole study and things that they just don't have right, that they just don't understand. Another question that a lot of people had about that article was, well, how does that article apply in the black community? I found this post really interesting that read, there's an article that says men are lonely. Read the study linked in the article. The exception is among black adults, where women, 62%, are more likely to be unpartnered than men, 55%. Black men aren't more likely to be lonely than black women. So there are a lot of factors as to why men may not be in quote unquote meaningful relationships. One of the most overlooked points is when men see what's awaiting for them at the finish line after pursuing that woman, when they look at like divorce court and everything that happens, how they're disadvantaged at almost every point in family court, they're like, so all this is leading up to that. Well, for some guys, they're just like, nah, not worth it. Listen, man, today's dating market is more competitive than ever. And as always, I'll continue to encourage men to better themselves and improve themselves. That is the only way forward as a man. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, that means some of us are just going to lose just because there's always been losers. And think of it this way. If you're privy to this content, most men don't know this shit. Most men aren't RP aware. Your steps and light years ahead. You have a greater motivation to get out there and improve your life for the better. Listen, man, as always, curious to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you guys for checking out another episode of The Coffee Pod. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.